sass in every way. Talking fast, not a pause in sight. Leanie's got my head in a spin tonight. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Podcast queen with a wicked smile, running jokes mile after mile. Try to speak, but in she slides. Leanie makes it a wild ride. With a wicked smile, running jokes mile after mile. I try to speak, but in she slides. Leanie makes it a wild ride. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong, can't imagine life without your song. But girl, you've gotta let me in. This ain't just your show to win. So here I stand with my mic in hand, trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. Trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong, can't imagine life without your song. But girl, you've gotta let me. This ain't just your show to win. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong, can't imagine your life without your song. But girl, you've gotta let me. This ain't just your show to win. So here I stand with my mic in hand, trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. So here I stand with my mic in hand, trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. In the studio we laugh all day, she's got that sass in every way. Talking fast, not a pause in sight. Leanie's got my head in a spin tonight. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Podcast queen with a wicked smile, running jokes mile after mile. Try to speak, but in she slides. Leanie makes it a wild ride. With a wicked smile, running jokes mile after mile. I try to speak, but in she slides. Leanie makes it a wild ride. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong, can't imagine life without your song. But girl, you've gotta let me in. This ain't just your show to win. So here I stand with my mic in hand, trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. This show is planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay a little secret every day. Oh, shut up, Leanie, just your show to win. Oh, shut up, Leanie, can't you see? You talk so much, it's drowning me. With your white hair and sassy flair, just give me a breath, let me share. Oh, Leanie, don't get me wrong. Can't imagine your life without your song. Girl, you've gotta let me in. This ain't just your show to win. So here I stand with my mic in hand, trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay our little secret every day. So here I stand with my mic in hand, trying to keep this show as planned. Leanie laughs, guess it's gonna stay our little secret every day.
Hello. Right, it's just come to me now. Right, I'm sitting here thinking, do I want to go to the toilet? No, I'm all right. No, I feel I need to go to the toilet. I need a wee. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, why have I left it right now till the very last second? Well, I've been watching Love is Blind, and it was getting to the exciting bit, and I was like, oh my God. And then before I knew it, I was like, oh, look at the time, she's better get on. So that's why I'm here. And I never went for a wee. So now what I'm going to do is, if you don't mind, I'm going to put a bit of music on and run and have a wee quick. Is that okay, Lizzo and Pink? Sorry about this, that's awful. I'll be as quick as I can. Can you hear me okay? Is everything okay with the sound? Girls, will you let me know if everything's okay? Oh, okay, brilliant, okay. I'll leave you two to chat and you can tell me all about your bloods on Thursday, because I want to know, you'll have to tell me. Won't be long, won't be. I'll put a little bit of music on. Don't know which one I'm putting on.
She started off observing, she kept to herself her wording. She saw the need for a friend indeed to all those deserving. She travels the world through your eyes. She listens and sometimes cries. She wants to know what makes you whole and cares without disguise. According to Leanie, she welcomes you here. A laugh, a song, sometimes a tear, a friend, a foe, a stranger. Your life story, your moments of glory. You're sad, you're happy, your dreams and your worries. She wants to know the ins and outs of all of you here. According to Leanie, according to Leanie, she welcomes you here. A laugh, a song, sometimes a tear, a friend, a foe, a stranger. Your life story, your moments of glory. You're sad, you're happy, your dreams and your worry. She wants to know the ins and outs of all of you here. According to Leanie, she wants to know what it is all about. According to Leanie, you're welcome here while we all just figure life out. So sit back and yak, smile and laugh, have a couple or two. Leanie is coming on right now and she welcomes you. Let's hear life according to Leanie. She started off observing, She kept to herself a wording. She saw the need for a friend and deep to all those deserving. She travels the world through your eyes. She listens and sometimes cries. She wants to know what makes you whole and cares without disguise. According to Leanie, she welcomes you here. A laugh, a song, sometimes a tear, a friend, a foe, a stranger. Your life story, your moments of glory. You're sad, you're happy, your dreams and your worries. She wants to know the ins and outs of all of you here. According to Leanie, according to Leanie, she welcomes you here. A laugh, a song, sometimes a tear, a friend, a foe, a stranger. Your life story, your moments of glory. You're sad, you're happy, your dreams and your worry. She wants to know the ins and outs of all of you here. According to
Oh my God, I'm out of condition. I can't breathe. Oh. Ooh. Hey, mine is shocking, no joke. It's like scrambled eggs and all jumbled. Oh, don't you talk about memory. Pink, you gotta be joking. Your memory is brilliant, isn't it, Lizzo? She's got a fantastic memory. We all run to you when we want to know something. Brilliant. Well, I think that's it. I think there's only the two of you in tonight, isn't there? Oh, God. Well, we've got 5. So, obviously, we've got 3 in the bushes. So, I wonder if one's Barbara Smith. Hiya, Barbara. One could be Lainey if she's doing something. And the rest, I'll just have to speculate and think about that, won't I? There you go. So, ladies, when you're ready, let me know and I'll be ready. Oh, Wild Angel is or was live. What time? Is she still alive now? Hi, Alexi. How are you? So is she still alive now then? Pink. Can you hear me okay? I didn't even have the mic near me then. I never even had my ears on. I don't know why I've got my ears on because I don't hear you, do I? So why have I got my ears on? It's because I've got the mic, isn't it? I'm good, chilling, thank you. I'm okay. A little bit out of breath because I'm out of condition. But I'm okay. Where are you from, Lexi? Are you joking? Oh my God. Well, you know what? I'm not bothered because it's only used that coming anyway. And listen, so there's no point in me hanging on or worrying about it. I've had this live scheduled since last night. So there's nothing I can do about it. Lexi is male. Oops. From Cornwall. Oh, right, okay. So you're in the UK. Well, we're all from the UK in here now. Pink, Lizzo, and myself. I'm from Liverpool, if you didn't know, but I'm sure you do. Exactly, Pink, I'm not, love. As I say, there's only use that coming anyway, isn't it? And listen, so I'm not bothered. I'm honestly not bothered, even if he only adds one in. It's someone that wants to hear it, so that's fine. I'm going to get the book, girls. Give me a couple of minutes, well, a couple of seconds to buy me, and we'll get going. Anyway, good to see you, Lexi, and thanks for coming in, love. Means a lot. Sorry, girls. My audio was off. I was talking to Jessie. You see me mic going up and down. I changed my pic today because a lot of women was thinking we always think, you know what? I always think someone's a woman first before I think they're a man. Why's that? But I knew you were a man, obviously, because I can see your picture. But hiya, Eric. You okay, love? How's it going? Well, you lads are going to be fuming because I'm only reading a book tonight. I've been coming on every night and reading a couple of hours of a book. Madeline McCann. You'll know about that, Lexi. It's an old book. It's the only one that was written by Kate McCann when Madeline first went missing. And we're like loads through now. So, I mean, obviously you're welcome, love, to stay and listen, but I understand if you don't. Same to you, Eric. Oh, you still have your girlfriend. I made up for you. I was thinking about you the other night when I was on a live. I always think about you. I hope you're okay, Eric. I'm made up for you. How are you girls anyway? You okay, Liz? Are you okay, Pink? Oh, tell you what, I don't know about you, Liz. Has it gone cold? I think it's gone cold. I have very much have the heating on, but I'm not. I've just been along the hall. I've got tiles. My feet are freezing. Oh, that's good, Liz. And I hope the poor kids are okay. Your friends, it's terrible. Oh, hiya, Lee. You okay? Just gonna start now. I'll let you have a little gab to the girls for a second. I'm okay. I'm all right, Pink. I've had my tea. I've been watching the telly, and then he had an alarm on my phone. I thought, so I better go because I was watching that Love Affair. What is it? Love at Blind Sight, and I knew I'd get into it and I'd forget all track of time. So we had the alarm on. So I'm all right, love. I'm okay. I'm absolutely fine. I've done a big pan of chicken soup today. So yeah, I'm a very good housewife today, and a very good mother. Did you have a good sleep, Lee? Hey, baby, can't you see it's not how much it's driving me? Doesn't that song stay in your head when you hear it? It does with me. That's good, girl. That's good, daughter. That's good. Shut up, Lainey. Right, are we ready to crack on? Because I am. Here we go. Yes, lol. I'm having to move this in case I knock the mute button and don't realise for about 3 hours after. So the sound's okay, everything's okay. Or I wish, do you know what? It's a pity I can't show you all the pictures. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Lainey. There are you. You're not bad yourself. Friday, the 7th of September. After a measly 2 hours sleep, we got up and braced ourselves for the day ahead. I remained calm. For a good couple of hours, we were on the phone, calling family and friends to make them aware of the situation and to give them the green light to voice their outrage and despair if they wanted to. Nobody needed a second invitation. They'd all been struggling to contain their concerns for a long time. Justine arrived to help while Jerry talked again to Bob Small. She was ringing selected newspaper editors in the UK. We knew only too well how we would be portrayed in Portugal that morning, and Justine wanted to give the British media a broad outline of what was really going on, and so they wouldn't resort to simply repeating whatever wild nonsense the Portuguese press decided to publish. It was time to go. I vividly remember standing quietly for a few minutes in the sitting room. There were several thoughts scrolling through my mind. There's going to be a riot when the news of all this reaches the people back in the UK. There's no way our government will stand for this. 4 months down the line, and still so naive. The police can beat me up and throw me in a prison cell, but I will not lie. I will do everything I can to help Madeline and to preserve our family. I know the truth, and God knows the truth. Nothing else matters. I'll be okay. I was still in control, and I felt strong. Justine was going to drive me to Port Mayo. Gary would be following us there that afternoon for his own interrogation. I told Justine we needed to stop at the Ocean Club on the way. Amid the chaos of that morning, I discovered too late that Tricia had decided to take the twins to the toddler club to save us an extra job. It was, of course, the right thing to do from a practical point of view, but I'd missed their departure and I needed to see them and hold them before I left Praia de Leu. After all, I had no idea whether I'd ever be coming back. I knew this would make us late, but given the hours and hours I'd spent up to date waiting in the bloody police station, I didn't really care. The children were in the play area next to the tapas restaurant. I went over and hugged and kissed them, embracing them tightly. I told them, I love you. Please God, I'll be back doing the same thing that evening. Justine and I made our way over to Port Mayo in her little car. In spite of the gravity of what lay ahead, I had to stifle a smile as we pootled along, alternating between second and third gear, with the occasional kangaroo jump thrown in for good measure. The journey seemed to take forever. Just when it seemed the whole situation couldn't get any more surreal, before turning the corner to the police station, Justine stopped the car, took her lipstick out, and looking into the rear view mirror, began to reapply it. The street leading to the police station was once again lined by huge crowds of press and onlookers. I was suddenly boosted by a surge of adrenaline. Must have been my Scouse fighting back genes kicking in. That's right, girl. That's right, your Scouse genes. I got out of the car and walked calmly towards the entrance, my head held high. I felt strangely invincible. There was some jeering from the locals as I passed by, apparently, but I didn't hear it. The police were not looking for Madeline. I reminded myself that. They had been looking for my baby. They hadn't been looking for my baby for weeks. The mere thought of that incensed me. There was no way I was going to let her down. In the footage of the apartment next door to ours, one of the dogs began to root in the corner of a room near a piece of furniture. PC Graham summoned the dog and they left the flat. The film show continued. Now we were in the underground garage where 8 or so cars were parked, including our rented Renault Scenic. It was hard to miss. The windows were plastered with pictures of Madeline. In medicine, we would call this an unblinded study, one that is susceptible to bias. One of the dogs ran straight past our car, nose in the air, heading towards the next vehicle. The handler stopped next to the Renault and called the dog. It obeyed, returning to him, but then ran off again. Staying by the car, PC Grime instructed the dog to come back several times and directed it to certain parts of the vehicle before it eventually supplied an alert by barking. Each time a dog gave a signal, Ricardo would pause the video and inform me that blood had been found in the site and that the DNA from the sample matched Madeline's. He wouldn't stare at me intently and ask me to explain this. These were the only times I didn't respond with a no comment. Instead, I said I couldn't explain it, but neither could you. I remember feeling such disdain for Ricardo at this point. What was he doing? Just following orders. Under my breath, I found myself whispering, fucking tosser, fucking tosser. This quiet chance somehow kept me strong, kept me in control. This man did not deserve my respect. Fucking tosser. Go away, Gail. When researching the validity of a sniffer dog evidence later that month, Jerry would discover that false alerts can be attributed to the conscious or unconscious signals of the handler. From what I saw of the dog's responses, this certainly seemed to be what was happening here. We would later learn that this as written report PC Grime has emphasised that such alerts cannot be relied upon without corroborating evidence. Towards the end of my interrogation, I walked over to Ricardo and asked why he hadn't had us over to dinner that night. Had it been a strategic invitation? He looked a little uncomfortable, like everyone else we trusted. He said, "Good God in heaven, I think if anyone was justified in having problems trusting others, it was Jerry and me, not the police." As I walked out of the interview room at 3:15 p.m, Jerry was on his way to Port Mayo for his interrogation. I wasn't allowed to see him, but I had been able to speak to him on the phone. Carlos told me it looked as if we could be up in court on Monday. For the moment, I would not be permitted to leave the country. This news didn't affect me as badly as might have been expected. Nothing that happened surprised me anymore. Every new twist was as bizarre as the last, and I just couldn't believe in any of it. Besides, I wasn't sure if I'd ever get out of the police station, let alone home. In the end, at least we were granted, and I was allowed to leave. As I walked out of the door, there was the inevitable noise, shouting, and a fresh flash of photographs. This time of Kate, the Arguida. I was very tired and desperate to see my children, who had been taken by Tricia to Susan Hubbard's house. Justin drove me there, tailed all the way by the Portuguese press. As I squeezed my beautiful babies tightly, pressing my nose against them to inhale their little sweet scent, not wanting to let them go, a sense of well-being and warmth swept over me. This was what was important. This was why we needed to keep battling, our family and our children. I sat down, cup of tea in my hand. In the bosom of my family and friends had listened to the tales of the day from Amali and Sean. It was as though I had momentarily been transported into a TARDIS, into another much nicer world where everything was happy and innocent. It was lovely while it lasted. I took the twins back to our besieged villa at 6:30 p.m. and rang Alan Pike to talk through the day's events and let him know I was okay. Reinforcements arrived in the shape of Sandy and Michael. It was reassuring to have another couple of men around. The phones were red hot again. Many relatives and friends had expressed to the media at home their concern and disgust at the way Jerry and I were being treated. Phil had gone as far as mentioning the deal put to us indirectly by the police. Jerry was uneasy about that being made public, although this might have been because he was inside the police station at the time. I had no qualms. It had happened, it was the truth, and it was outrageous. The police responded by saying, "We don't do deals. Not officially, maybe, but from where you were standing, it was certainly a deal, and a thoroughly reprehensible one at that." After dinner, a lot of chat and some much needed downtime, I went to bed. Kate McCann, the arguer, Madeline's mum, the arguer, publicly suspected of killing my precious daughter, or at least of disposing of her body. The mere idea made me want to vomit. The world was not only cruel, it was mad. The scenario would be considered too far-fetched even as a plot for a movie, surely. I was burning with the injustice of it all, and my heart broke that bit more for my little girl. Jerry wasn't back from his interrogation until 1:30 a.m. Like me, he was officially declared an arguido. At the start of the proceedings, his intention had been to take Carlos' advice, as I had done, and refuse to answer any questions. But when the first questions along the lines of "Did you dispose of your daughter's body?" was put to him for the third time, incensed by his sheer absurdity and the offensiveness, and by the way the interviewing officer was goading him, he simply couldn't stop himself. In these conditions, his reaction was perfectly understandable, but unfortunately, our inconsistent responses to interrogation led them to me being portrayed as difficult or even guilty in certain sections of the media, and of course by the nutters who pour forth bile of the internet. However, I support this was a minor problem in the grand scheme of things. Like me, Jerry had been relieved by the inadequacies revealed by the sniffer dog videos, dismissing it as the most subjective piece of intelligence gathering imaginable. Ricardo had told him too that they had recovered Madeline's DNA from inside the hire car, using the best forensic scientists in the world. When Jerry asked to see the DNA report, Ricardo became quite flustered, waving PC Grimes' document in the air and saying, "It is the dogs that are important." At that point, Jerry began to feel a lot better. He realised that no one could have planted forensic evidence to implicate us, because despite what we had been led to believe by the police and the newspaper headlines, there wasn't any such evidence. They had no proof that Madeline was dead. All they actually had was the signal of a dog trying to please his instructor in an apartment from far away from where Madeline had been taken 3 months earlier. As we now know, the chemicals believed to create the odour of death, producers of cadaverine, last no longer than 30 days. There were no decaying body parts for the dog to find. It was simply wrong. It would be 11 months before we learned the truth from the released police files. The full report from the UK's Forensic Science Service sent them to... Sorry, I'm going to say that again. It would be 11 months before we learned the truth from the released police files. The full report from the UK Forensic Science Service, they sent them to them before they interrogated us, had concluded that the DNA results were too complex for meaningful interpretation. There was no evidence whatsoever that Madeline was dead. The search had to go on. On the drive home from the police station, it had become clear that Carlos believed charges were likely and that we might have to stay in Portugal. The preparation of a case like this could take years. If the charge was murder rather than the lesser crime of hiding a body, we might even be remanded in custody for all that time. Given the lack of evidence, it was impossible to understand how such charges could be brought. But if you told us a few weeks earlier that we were going to be declared as Guidos, we wouldn't have believed that either. The prospect of being separated from Sean and Amali, held up in a jail, unable to prepare a defence, was terrifying. Jerry was seriously considering sneaking us into a car and driving us all across the border to Spain. It would have been crazy. The whole world would have thought we were guilty, and maybe that was what the police was really hoping we'd do. Most people find it hard to comprehend how innocent people can confess to crimes they haven't committed. Jerry and I don't, not now. The monumental psychological jaws we were under can easily lead to bad, irrational decision making. Thankfully, we resisted the urge to flee. When we left Portugal, it would be with the blessings of the police and our heads held high. Saturday, the 8th of September, we were on tenterhooks all day, waiting to hear whether we would be allowed to go home. Rachel had found a couple of criminal lawyers in London. She was sure that could help us. Michael Kaplan and Angus McBride of Kingsley Napoli worked on several high-profile cases, including the Pinocchio extradition proceedings and the Stevens inquiry. Jerry gave them a call. They discussed Madeline's case in detail, what had happened so far, and how Kingsley Napoli might be able to assist us. Meanwhile, we tried to rein in family and friends from speaking to the press any further. Enough had been said, and we were very conscious that we and Madeline were at the mercy of the Portuguese judicial system. Being overly critical at the delicate point could and probably would work against us. Late that afternoon, we were notified by Liz Dow, the British consul in Lisbon, that Louis Nebbs, as Gilmonio and Carcio, had declared us free to leave the country and whenever we wished to. Thank you, God. On the advice of the lawyers, we decided to get out as soon as possible. We would go the next day rather than have them leaving it until Monday. Then it was all hands on deck to pack everything up and clear the villa. Michael volunteered to stay on for a couple of days to organise the cleaning, hand back the keys, and arrange for our remaining belongings to be shipped home by a removal company. In view of the immovable wall of journalists, cameramen, and film crews that remained outside the villa all day, Jerry and I felt it would be prudent to stay on the premises. The rest of the family, using the side entrance, took Amali and Sean for some lunch and a swim. Although we had a lot to do, there was one arrangement I had been particularly eager to keep, and it was a feast day service at the church that evening. The little church's wonderful community had been so important to us since Madeline's abduction, and celebrating its feast day meant a great deal to me. I badly wanted to be there for Madeline, and of course to say my goodbyes and express my heartfelt thanks to all of the friends and supporters in the parish, especially a small and faithful group of elderly Portuguese ladies. We knew, though, that if we went, the media circus would overshadow and spoil everybody else's celebrations. I was deeply disappointed to have to miss it. We heard from Clarence that evening. Before long, Justine would be moving on to pursue her political career, and we'd always hoped he would. He was able to retain as a family spokesman. The government, however, had other ideas. They forbade him from any further involvement with us because of our agreed status. Clarence was very upset, as we were. This was the first sign we had of doors starting to close on us because of this unwarranted stigma. We felt that our government had abandoned us. It hadn't occurred to me that they wouldn't protect us, and I berated myself once again for my naivety. I knew the situation was bad, but I still didn't fully appreciate just how detrimental the recent turn of events would be to us and to Madeline. With the family around there was always the odd funny moment to alleviate the tension and keep us sane. That evening, Jerry's mum was sitting outside on the patio, giving it lots of granny chat, which our granny does exceptionally well, when we suddenly spotted a big fairy boom microphone hovering over the patio. Whether it was Eileen's colourful outbursts on finally noticing the fluffy intruder, or the thought that anyone would need a boom microphone around Granny McCann, she's quite loud. We all collapsed into fits of bellyache and laughter. Sometime after midnight, Justine notified the media that we would be returning to the UK early that next morning. We'd rather not have done this, but as we know they would get wind of our departure anyway, telling them a short while in advance seemed to give us the best chance of managing the situation and trying to minimise the almighty scramble that would ensue once they found out. The next morning, we packed our last bits and pieces and said a tearful farewell to Susan Hubbard before rousing Sean and Amali. Their bedtime had got later and later in the recent months. I think they were becoming Portuguese by this stage, and they were still very sleepy, but once they were properly awake and heard they were going on a plane, they were very excited. I had never expected to believe in Portugal under these circumstances. It was incomprehensible to be going home as a family of four, something that still sends shivers down my spine, and to be going this way under a cloud of suspicion was almost more than we could stand. Of course, many sections of the press would suggest we were running away, but as I re-encountered, the decision had been made several weeks earlier. All we were doing was leaving a day earlier than originally planned. Our situation here was untenable. We were trapped within four walls, surrounded by hostility, and not once did this restrict what we were being able to do for Madeline. It was no kind of environment for our other two children either. I resented being pushed out of the country as I saw it, but ultimately we had to do what was right and fair for Sean and Amali, and what would best equip us to help Madeline. By 6 a.m, the media was stationed outside in the droves. An hour later, we left the villa and Praia de Luz, Jerry driving the children and me in our hire car, while a local British friendly kindly took the rest of the family. The heaviness of our hearts almost took second place to sheer terror on that journey. We were chased the whole way, mainly by the Portuguese and Spanish press, who tailed us dangerously. They were taught I was hanging around out of sunroofs, huge video cameras balancing on shoulders and heavily laden motorbikes brushing the sides of our car as they skimmed past. A helicopter hovered overhead. It was utter madness and extremely frightening for the children, as well as for us. An image of Princess Diana flashed through my mind. It was easy to see now how her tragic death had come about. Jerry's foot kept pressing down harder on the accelerator as he instinctively tried to put a safe distance between us and the car that was practically touching our bumper. I urged him to slow down. The most important thing was to stay in control and try to blank out the craziness all around us. It didn't matter how quickly we got there. It didn't matter if we pursued all the way to the airport. It did matter that we stayed alive. I said so many prayers over the last 4 months, but I'd never anticipated having to beg the Lord to protect us on the A22. Although the friend driving our relatives behind us was in slightly less jeopardy, they too were getting a taste of the motorway mayhem. Jesus, Granny McCann memorably remarked, "It's like the wacky races." Mercifully, we all arrived at the airport in one piece. There we said goodbye to Eileen and Sandy, who were flying home to Glasgow, and Michael, who was taking our hire car back to Praia de Luz. On hearing about the interpretation of the forensic results, the lawyers at Kingsley Naples thought it was wise to hold on to it for the time being. Tricia was coming to Rothley with us. At the risk of repeating myself, I can't imagine how we'd ever coped without help for our wonderful family. Needless to say, Once Justine had informed the media of our return, every journalist in town, it seemed, had tried to book a seat on our flight, and a fair few of them had succeeded. By the time we were strapped into our seats, I was beyond caring. The majority of them suspected our need to be left alone. Only one or two were unable to resist the temptation to ask that insane question. How are you both feeling? So how were we feeling? Full of confusing mixture of relief, disbelief, oppressive sadness, piercing guilt and pain. The sadness, guilt and pain were dominant. We were going home without Madeline. I was leaving her behind. I'm her mother and I'm leaving her behind. My heart ached as it was torn from the last geographical link with my little girl. When we touched down in the Midlands, I couldn't hold back the tears any longer. Even though I could see how they were worrying Amali, we were home at last, home without Madeline. Soon we would be walking into our house, the house we'd only ever lived in with Madeline. My chest hurt, my throat felt swollen, and my head began to spin. Jerry put his arm around me. I glanced up to see the strain on his face and his red watery eyes. He was being so strong, but I knew he was dying inside. Slowly and solemnly, he came down the steps from the aeroplane, Jerry with the sleeping Sean nestling against his chest, and me with Amali, tired but awake, on my hip. What did the future hold for our family now? On reaching the tarmac, Jerry gave a short statement to the waiting reporters and film crews. He was breaking, his voice tight, and he fought the persistent urge to bawl. While we are returning to the UK, it does not mean we are giving up our search for Madeline. As parents, we cannot give up on our daughter until we know what's happened. We have to keep doing everything we can to find her. Kate and I wish to thank you all once again, all those who have supported us over the past days, weeks and months. But we would like to ask for our privacy to be respected now that we have returned home. Our return is with the full agreement of the Portuguese authorities and the police. Portuguese law prohibits us from commenting further on the police investigation. Despite there being so much we wish to say, we are unable to do so, except to say this. We played no part in the disappearance of our lovely daughter Madeline. A special branch officer drove us to Rockley. As we got closer and closer to our village, memories of so many happy times began to fill my mind, interrupted constantly by chilling reminders of the hard reality of our existence now. At last we pulled into our cul-de-sac, and the media throng assembled there sprang into action. I hadn't seen our house since we'd left for our holiday. Full of excitement that April morning, we lifted our sleeping babies out of the car, took a few deep breaths, and headed towards the front door. My Uncle Brian, Auntie Janet, and our friend Amanda were already there waiting to let us in and welcome us home. I cuddled them all, needing to be held tightly, and then I cried and cried and cried. A short while later, I went upstairs, opened the door to Madeline's bedroom. I needed to do this. I needed to feel her close. I didn't go in. I just let my eyes wander around the shocking pink walls and up to the stars of her ceiling, over her teddies and her dolls, and then to her pillow, her bed and her pillow. I could almost see her lying there, on her side, in a little fetal position, her little head resting gently on the pillow, with her fine blonde hair spread out artlessly behind. Lie with me, Mummy. As for Sean and Amali, it was as if they had never been away. Within seconds, they were running around the playroom, making us pretend cups of teas, pushing their teddies and Noddy about in their buggies, and rushing out into the garden to whiz down the slide. For us, it was straight down to business. Michael Kaplan, and Angus McBride arrived that afternoon, for a thorough discussion of our situation. Our family's future looked bleak, and we needed help. When the three left, 3.5 hours later, we felt more positive, confident that we now on the right had the right people to guide us through this mess. In the evening, the phone was ringing off the hook, and there were a few visitors too, mainly members of our family coming round to give us a hug. Being back in our house wasn't as bad or even as sad as I'd feared. In fact, it was quite comforting. Perhaps just having our own familiar bits around us relieved some of the stress. Perhaps it was the knowledge that Sean and Amali were happy to be where they belonged. Or perhaps it was that the whole house was full of reminders of Madeline. Maybe it was a combination of all those consolations. Whatever the case, when we climbed into bed shortly after midnight, felt like momentarily tolerable, and we still had our hope. This wasn't over yet. Is the sound all right, everyone? I'll take that as a yeah, girls. We woke up that Monday morning with a daunting task ahead of us. Declared our Guidos, labelled as suspects in the press, and consequently considered by many to be guilty of something, we needed to clear our names comprehensively and quickly before we could continue the search for Madeline on any effective level. While suspicions remained among the authorities and the public, we had somewhat been involved in our daughter's disappearance. Fewer people were going to be looking for her. To have to devote our time and physical and emotional resources to this extra battle while Madeline was still out there somewhere was galling in the extreme. The media coverage was absolutely huge driven. It seemed by the ultimate twist. The parents who were conducting an international campaign now rumoured to be suspected of hiding their own daughter. It was despicable, given that the basis for the stories was simply untrue. And yet we could see how it was happening. The Portuguese press were publishing information from police sources, which was picked up by all the other newspapers, and the fact that we had been made aguidas appeared to justify it. The damage being done was immense. We felt as if we had no control over anything. It was like 3rd and 4th of May all over again. We, like Robert Muras, would remain aguidos until or unless somebody was charged or the case was closed. Although a new penal code imposed an 8-month deadline on inquiries, the police or the prosecutor could simply apply for extensions as they felt necessary. It meant we could be facing this frenzied speculation for a long time to come. Over the next few weeks or days would be filled with the phone calls, emails, meetings, interspersed with hours holed up in the study in front of computer screens, researching and gathering information. We worked 16-hour days and frequently fell into bed at 2 a.m. We rarely left the house, except for meetings and the occasional trip to the park with the kids, or to squeeze in a short, head-clearing run or spirit-boosting visit to the church. Potty training Sean and Amali were probably the nearest we got to a break. There were many difficult decisions to be made that compounded our pain and worry. Any action we choose to take had to be looked at from every angle. Would people understand why we were doing it and support it? Or would it be represented with negativity in the media and bring us even more distractors? The issue we needed to deal with most urgently was protecting our children and ensuring the safety of our family, preparing our defence with our lawyers and trying to stop the lies being published in the press. One of the first things we did was to ring our GP. We wanted to make contact with the social services to preempt any interest they might be obliged in to take us in. In the light of the headlines and our Arguido status, we realised there could be pressure on authorities to assess the welfare of the twins. It all seemed so crazy and unfair, but we had to confront it head on. Our doctor came round that Monday morning and we talked things through with him. Wild stories were appearing in the papers about my fragile mental state, my inability to cope with my hyperactive children, eating disorders, sedatives, all complete bullshit, yet not once had our GP been contacted for any information about us. The police had not sought access to our medical notes, and nobody had ever asked him if we were well and healthy, what kinds of people were, whether there had been any concerns about us or our parenting skills, or if we were on any medication. 3 days later, we had a meeting with a social services manager and our local child protection officer. They went through various formalities with us, and while they took care to keep everything on a totally professional footing, I could tell they felt uncomfortable about having to subject us to do this sort of scrutiny. But we resigned ourselves to it. We expected it, accepted it, and we had nothing to hide. The local police, who also visited us within the first 24 hours, primarily to advise us on any security. Our home was fitted with sensor alarms. If anyone broke in, these would alert the police station rather than go off in the house, enabling officers to be at our door within minutes. We were also given a personal alarm to carry with us at all times. My dad and a friend secured another 2 feet of trellis to the fence surrounding our garden, providing a 12-foot barrier against potential intruders, including the photographers who were already snooping at the back. Blinds were quickly put up of all of our windows for a medium of privacy. A week or so later, Control Risk sent a technical expert to check our phone lines and rooms for any bugging devices. If we had ever wondered back in May whether we'd entered a whole new world, we were now certain we had. The press settled themselves outside our house for a couple of days before agreeing to retreat to the end of the cul-de-sac. They were there to remain in varying numbers for 3 months. Oh my God. Somewhere there must be a whole library of exciting photographs of me driving in and out of our roads. I can only imagine how annoying the media presence for our neighbours, but they put up with it stoically and showed us nothing but kindness and support. Once again, our family, friends and neighbours came to our rescue. Shopping, cooking, cleaning, washing and ironing, opening mail, entertaining the children and providing a shoulder to cry on and many a hug. As they have been in Portugal, Sean and Amali were blissfully untroubled by the semi-organised disorder, and I thank my lucky stars for that. They played inside and outside, upstairs and downstairs, leaving a trail of toys and laughter in their wake. But the frustrating necessity to shore up defences not made only distracted us from the search for Madeline, it also robbed us of time with the twins. We tried to set aside periods of the day to take them for a swim or to watch a DVD with them, but these weren't nearly as frequent as we'd have liked. Perhaps not surprisingly, they were both a little unsettled at night for a while, often paddling through our bedroom in the small hours. We didn't put up with much resistance to their efforts to clamber in our bed. It was nice to have them with us, even if it had to be at a ridiculous o'clock. On Tuesday, September the 11th, we had an 8 a.m. conference call with Michael Kaplan and Angus McBride and Justine. It was decided that Justine and Angus would visit the editors of the main tabloid newspapers, and Angus would explain to them that there was absolutely no evidence to support our involvement in Madeline's disappearance. Angus and Justine's action seemed to make next to no difference, and tales of blood and dogs provided by the usual unnamed sources close to the investigation continued to appear. By talk of supposed clumps of hair, there were erroneous reports of 100% match between sample taken from the vehicle and Madeline's DNA. Even if this had been true, which it turns out it wasn't, it was perfectly feasible that Madeline's DNA could have been in the car for entirely innocent reasons, on clothes, toys, and other items that belonged to her. Since there was no match, the most likely explanation for the presence of particular DNA sequences in the car, and certainly, got to go past the loads of pictures, certainly far more rational than a dead body having been there 3 weeks after her disappearance. Was that the DNA was mine and Jerry's, Sean's, and Amalia's? Since Madeline inherited her DNA from Jerry and me, as we have the twins, she possesses strands common to us all, but I guess that didn't make for a quite so good a story for them. Yet, judging by the continuing flood of touching and encountering letters, flowers, gifts, many of the general public, in the UK and Ireland at least, saw through the lies and speculation. I cannot overemphasize how important this show of solidarity was to us. It was a source of strength and hope, and it helped us to keep going through the toughest of times. Having no knowledge at this point of what we had to, or had been to, what had been found by forensic tests commissioned by the police, we wanted to conduct our own independent examination. Michael and Angus suggested that we arrange for a full forensic screen to be performed on the Renault Scenic hire car, which had been left with a friend in Praia de Leu. Later that Tuesday, Angus flew out to Lisbon for a meeting with Carlos Pinto Diabro, trying to find or clarify our legal position in Portugal. Meanwhile, Bob Small paid us a call. We were pleased to see him. He is one of the good guys. While he always remained completely professional, we knew that he really cares about us, about Madeline, and about justice. You'd have thought you could expect all of this from the police officers and people in authority, but our experience has taught us otherwise. Compassionate though Bob was, he was still unable to answer many of our questions, constrained by my position, which was upsetting and exasperating. Very frustrating. You wonder if the shit really hits the fan, as if it hadn't already. Who will actually put their necks out and stand up for us? I embarked on a detailed chronological account of all our movements from 3rd to the 7th September, when we were declared Arguidos. I had kept a record of a lot of this information in my journals, but there were still gaps in the first 3 weeks before I started to keep my diary. I phoned all the friends and family who had come out to Praia de Leu during that period, as well as everyone with them who had been in close contact at home, and asked them to go over everything they recalled to corroborate my own memories, pinpoint dates and times, and fill in any blanks. I also contacted Foreign Office officials and consul staff to confirm details of all our meetings with them. It was imperative that my report was as thorough and as complete as possible. I worked on this almost solidly for the next 3 weeks. Jerry has always scoffed at my perfectionist tendencies and attention to detail, but he was scoffing no longer. My journals were so comprehensive, covering everything down to the most insignificant and boring incidents you can imagine. By the time I had finished, I was able to account for what we did and where we were at virtually any given time over the whole 4 months. I would have put Sherlock Holmes out of his job, if I had to say so myself. Although I was satisfied with what I'd achieved, it was a travesty I had to produce it at all. Since 4th of May, practically every step we'd taken outside of Mark Warner apartment or the villa had been followed on television by the entire world. How could we possibly have secretly hidden our daughter's body in such a safe place that it hadn't been discovered, and then removed it? If our hiding place was that good, I wonder why we would have bothered transporting it in our Renault Scenic, which we hadn't hired until the 27th of May, and buried her elsewhere, all without our media stalkers ever noticing a thing. It simply wasn't feasible. The police had a stack of other more damning evidence. They weren't yet revealing. They hadn't. No wonder by the time I went to bed at night, I often felt close to exploding. Jerry had a few tough days and was upset earlier on today. He seemed very stressed, although it's not surprising. Who'd have thought our lives would have ended up like this? What have we done to deserve all of this? Immoral, inhumane, and total injustice. I don't know how the Portuguese police can sleep at night. Madeline, nobody here, especially me and Daddy, is going to stop looking for you. We will do everything to find you, sweetheart. May God, Mary, and the angels protect you until that time. Love you, miss you. By this time, Jerry was deep into his next task, researching the validity of responses produced by blood and cadaver dogs. Along the way, he spoke to several experts, and in the coming weeks, we would learn a lot more about the subject. This is what one US lawyer had to say about the objectivity and success rate of this procedure. The most critical question relating to the use of dogs alerts as evidence is how likely the dog's alerts to be correct. In the regard, the only testing of these handler and the dog teams recorded an unmissable performance. Here, the basis for the possible past presence of human remains is that there is a 20 or 40% chance that a dog's alert was correct. In other words, with respect to residual odour, the dog handler teams performed significantly worse than if the handlers had simply flipped a coin to speculate as to the presence of residual odour at each location. These tests, it should be noted, were performed within 12 hours of body parts being removed from the testing area. Just imagine how worse the results would be after 3 months. Almost all erroneous alerts originate not from being the dog, but from the handler's misinterpretation of the dog's signals. A false alert can result from the handler's conscious or unconscious signals given by them to lead a dog where the handler suspects evidence. We are mindful that the less than scrupulous neural procedures, which create at least the possibility of unconscious cueing, may well jeopardize the reliability of dog sniffs. On Wednesday, 12th of September, Jerry was contacted by Edward Smithhurst, a commercial lawyer. He represented a businessman called Brian Kennedy, not to be confusing with my Uncle Brian, a successful entrepreneur who owned various companies, including Everest Windows and Sale Shark Rugby Club. Brian told Jerry had, like many other people following the unfolding drama of Madeline's disappearance since 3rd of May, now seeing things going from bad to worse, he had decided he could no longer stand idly by and watch. He wanted to step in and help us financially and in any other way he could. A meeting with Edward and Brian was arranged for that Friday at the Kingsley Napoli offices in London. On Friday morning, Angus McBride kindly drove to Rockley to pick us up and take us down to London. Brian Kennedy and Edward Smithhurst joined us in a meeting room shortly before midday. Brian was very much younger than I was expecting, very relaxed and personable. He told us a little about himself, originally from Edinburgh and married with 5 children. He was wealthy, obviously, but a self-made man. He had started out as a window cleaner. Then he asked me to give him an account of what had happened on the evening of the 3rd of May. I talked for a couple of minutes before he stopped me. Okay, that's enough. I've always believed you. I just wanted to hear it from you. That's fine. We discussed the immediate problems facing us, our arguido status, the need for legal assistance, the media coverage, and the public relations difficulties associated with that. Brian's contributions were full of passion and sincerity, and when he said next will stay with me forever, okay, first of all, we need to deal with all of this stuff and get it out of the way. Then we need to concentrate on the most important thing, finding your daughter. I wanted to cry. Well, actually, I did cry. Here was somebody, at long last, who could see through all this rubbish and the damage it was doing. Here was somebody who wasn't turning his back on us because it was the easiest or safest thing to do. And most importantly, here was somebody who was able and willing to help us find Madeline. We had a chance. Madeline has a chance. I resisted the urge to run around the table and throw my arms around him. Instead, I stammered at my gratitude. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. My heart was doing mini leaps for the first time in months. Discussions between ourselves, Brian and Ed, our lawyers, and representatives from Control Risks continued through the afternoon. We were left feeling weary but upbeat, and as we said our farewells, Brian got his hug. Everyone had agreed that it would be a great help to have Clarence Mitchell back on board to take care of media liaison communications and public relations. We knew he was keen to rejoin us in spite of the government's edict. Within 3 days, Clarence had resigned from the civil service and was back in the fold, his salary generously taken care of by Brian. Being Clarence, he rolled up his sleeves and got started immediately. We were absolutely delighted. As incidentally, we were the many little old ladies who wrote to tell us that they were sleeping much better since the return of that nice Mr. Mitchell. Once the twins had settled back where they belonged, they began to feel Madeline's absence from our home. A week after our return, Madeline jumped into bed with me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Where's Madeline gone, Mummy? Trying not to crumble, I explained to her gently that Madeline was still missing and that although we hadn't found her yet, we were all still looking. She asked me the same question when she woke up again 5 hours later. The children had been away from their nursery school for 4.5 months, and we decided it was probably time they went back. We were prepared for it to take them a few mornings to get used to nursery again. What we hadn't bargained for was the emotional impact it would have on Jerry and Meg. Madeline had started at the nursery at 18 months old and had still been going there when we left for Portugal. It was awash with memories. We knew the staff really well, and we knew how fond they were of Madeline. The first morning was very tough, and there were many wet eyes around the building. After lunch, I went to collect Amali and Sean. As we were getting into the car, Sean asked, "Where's Madeline?" Then he answered his own question. "She's round there." He was pointing to an annex called the Coach House, where the older children were based, the place where he'd remembered Madeline going each morning. I recalled how the twins used to stop at the window on the half landing of the main building, which overlooked the play area outside the Coach House. "There's Madeline," he would say in his little toddle babble voice. "There's Madeline." Their doting big sister would wave up at them, bringing beaming smiles to their little faces. God, it hurt. For the rest of the day, I would hear Shawnee wandering around the house telling everybody within earshot, "We can't find Madeline." Everywhere I went with the twins, the associations with Madeline brought back memories that increased the agony. In the park, I could still picture her coming down the slide. At the swimming pool, there she was in a little yellow swimming cap, waving to me as I watched proudly through the window. But gradually, I began to force myself to go on little expeditions that I knew would make Amali and Sean happy. I took them back to Stonehurst Farm. I could see Madeline feeding the sheep. I could see her talking to the donkeys. I could see her swinging on the rope in the hay barn. I could hear her giggling, and I wanted to giggle with her. Farmer John was coming towards us across the farmyard, shouting, "Tractor ride in 5 minutes." Then he spotted me, and his eyes filled with sorrow. He quickened his stride in our direction and threw his strong firm arms around me. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. I knew big-hearted John felt my pain and my yearning for our little Maddie with the 3 E's to come home. On the Thursday, 20th of September, Jerry and I travelled to London again to meet no fewer than 5 lawyers. Just 5 months earlier, I would never have imagined even knowing that many lawyers, let alone needing to call upon their services. Gathered in the Kingsley Napoli offices were Michael Kaplan, Angus McBride, and our UK criminal lawyers Edward Smethurst and Brian Kennedy. Carlos Pinto Diablo, our Portuguese criminal lawyer, and Rogério Alves, another Portuguese lawyer. Brian had suggested bringing in Rogério because he felt he needed additional legal support in Portugal. Jerry and I spent some time on our own with him in another room, basically to get to know him a little and vice versa, and to familiarise him with our perspective on matters. My first impressions were of a rather talkative man, but much of what Rogério said made a great deal of sense, even if the uncomfortable truths he needed to spell out to us didn't make for easy listening. He asked about our relationship with Carlos and listened as we explained our concerns, which related mainly to Carlos's behaviour and attitude during the Arguedo interview period. We rejoined the others half an hour later, discussed our strategy, decided upon a plan, and worked out what we would be doing what. It was agreed that Rogério would join the legal team. He and Carlos knew each other well and were a good combination. Carlos was a detail man, while Rogério was president of the Portuguese bar and a high profile in Portugal and a good working relationship with the media. Between them, it was felt we would have all the angels covered, all the angles even, not the angels. Rogério would represent me in Portugal while Carlos continued to act for Jerry. We will petition the prosecutor asking to be informed of the evidence against us. At the same time, we will put forward our own catalogue of information, which we would include my detailed account of our movements from May to September, a record of all our trips in the hire car, and Jerry's research into the reliability and otherwise of blood and cadaver dogs. The meticulous records of events in my journals enabled us to account for every journey we'd made in the Renault Scenic, taking us to within a few kilometres of the much publicised, unexplained mystery mileage of the McCann's hire car, which of course was not a mystery at all. We would also supply a list of all the witnesses we believe should have been interviewed before we were made Arguedos. It was an extensive list, but everyone on it was an obvious candidate. I am sure the man or woman in the street would take it for granted that it was necessary, if not crucial, for the police to talk to all these people and, of course, of investigating any potential suspect. So it shouldn't have been beyond the wit of experienced officers to have done so. It was straightforward, common sense, not rocket science. RGP, I've already mentioned, also included were the staff at the children's nursery at home who spent a great deal of time with them and witnessed our interaction with them on a regular basis, and Sandy, Madeline's aunt and uncle and godparents who came out to Portugal on 5th of May and lived with us for the next 3 months. Alan Pike, the trauma psychologist who would talk to us for an hour upon hour, not forgetting Fiona, David Russell, Jane, Matt, Rachel and Diane, none of whom was ever re-interviewed before the police decided to declare us Arguedos. And the list went on. Tricia and Sandy's testimony would you'd have thought been particularly relevant to the hypothesis of us stored Madeline's body, since they were with us the whole time, but then perhaps the police were never looking for evidence that supported our innocence. We got to spend some nice time with Sean and Molly this evening. Baths together and Wallace and Gromit. They are both so lovely, loving and delightful. It breaks my heart thinking about what fun our three children would be having together right now. They have such a close and beautiful relationship. At the preparatory work was now being put into action. Brian Kennedy arranged for Jane Tanner to see an FBI accredited forensic sketch artist to try and create an image of the man she saw carrying a child on 3rd of May. A forensic team had been sent over to Praia de Lou to carry out the full examination of the Renault Scenic, and on the 24th of September, a forensic scientist from Control Risks came to take samples of hair from Sean and Amali and myself. On the night Madeline was taken, you may remember Jerry and I had been very concerned that Sean and Amali had hardly moved in their cots, let alone woken up, despite the commotion in the apartment. Since Madeline was snatched apparently without making a sound, we had always suspected that all three children might have been sedated by the abductor. We mentioned this to the police that night and several more times in the following weeks, but no testing of urine, blood, or hair which could have revealed the presence of drugs has ever been done. Apparently, hair grows at a rate of approximately 1 centimetre per month, so it was possible that hair samples taken even 4 months later could provide us with additional information. It was worth a shot, at least I asked for samples of my own hair to be taken as well, simply because I was fed up with the constant insinuations that I took tranquilizers, sleeping pills, or medication for that matter. The process seemed to take ages, and we all lost loads of hair. I couldn't believe they had to take so much. The scientists cut chunks out of it from Sean and Amali's heads while they were sleeping. I cried as I heard the scissors in their baby go into their baby blonde hair. I felt angry that the children had to go through this further insult. As for me, I looked as if I had alopecia. Though I cursed the abductor and the police, I had big things to worry about. All the hair samples produced negative results. While this didn't totally exclude the possibility that the children had been sedated, especially given the time that had elapsed, it meant nobody else, including the police and the media, could prove otherwise. It also confirmed that I didn't abuse sedation medication. It is sad that we had to go to such lengths to demonstrate this, sadder still that such tests were carried out at the time. While Jerry and I laboured away, hour after hour, at our desks, the media onslaught continued unabated. The McCanns are lying. If a body isn't found, the McCanns will escape. British police say Madeline died in the apartment. New DNA links to case. FSS confirms parents sedated their children. Jerry is not Madeline's biological father. By now you might think I'd become immune to these headlines, but still, they shocked me. Okay, so maybe there was the odd one with a grain of truth in it, but they were very few and far between. Angus McBride paid a second round of visits to a newspaper editors, this time with Clarence. Michael Kaplan had written to the Chief Constable of Leicestershire Police, asking him to intervene. On the 17th of September, the Chief Constable wrote to newspapers and broadcasters urging restraint to little effect. On the 8th of October, he sent a further letter again, making it clear that much of the media coverage simply had no foundation and that rumour it appeared to have taken precedence over due diligence. It was the nights that we were the worst. Not only did lying awake in the dark take me straight back to the most awful night of all, but my brain, finally free of the preoccupations of the day, could wander unbidden down the black and terrifying avenues. I struggled constantly to think nice thoughts and drift off to sleep, but the demons had me in their grip and would torture me mercilessly with images too frightening and painful to share. Where is my Madeline? Please God, do something. After Madeline was taken from us, my sexual desire plummeted to zero. Our sex life is not something I would normally be inclined to share, and yet it is such an integral part of most marriages that it doesn't feel right not to acknowledge this. I'm sure other couples who have been through traumatic experiences will have suffered similarly, and perhaps it will reassure them to know that they are not alone. To those fortunate enough not to have encountered such heartache, I hope it gives an insight just how deep the wounds go. Apart from our general state of shock and distress, and the fact that I couldn't concentrate on anything but Madeline, there were two continuing reasons for this, I believe. The first was my inability to permit myself any pleasure, whether it was reading a book or making love with my husband. The second stemmed from the revulsion stirred up by my fear that Madeline had suffered the worst fate we could imagine, falling into the hands of a paedophile. When she was first stolen, paedophiles were all we could think about, and it made us sick. It ate away at us. The idea of a monster like this touching my daughter, stroking her, defining her perfect little body, just killed me over and over again. It didn't make any difference that this might not be the explanation for Madeline's abduction, and please God it isn't. The fact that it was a possibility was enough to prevent me from shutting it out of my mind. Tortured as I was by these nauseating images, it's probably not surprising that even the thought of sex repulsed me. I would lie in bed, hating the person who had done this to us, the person who had taken away our little girl and terrified her, the person who had caused these additional problems for me and the man I love. I hated him. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to inflict the maximum pain possible on him for heaping all this misery on my family. I was angry and I was bitter and I wanted it all to go away. I wanted my old life back. I worried about Jerry and me. I worried that if I couldn't get our sex life back on track, our whole relationship would break down. I know there is more to a relationship than sex, but it's still an important element. It was vital that we stayed together and stayed strong for our family. Jerry was incredibly understanding and supportive. He never made me feel guilty. He never pushed me into anything, and he never ever got sulky. In fact, sometimes he would apologize to me. Invariably, he would put a big reassuring arm around me and tell me that he loved me and not to worry. I was determined not to be beaten by this, not simply to capitulate and accept it as just one of the unfortunate side effects. But Jerry and I talked about it a little, but mostly and I analysed the problem privately in my head. I also discussed it with Alan Pike, who assured me that, like my ability to relax or enjoy a meal, it would gradually return and that I shouldn't fret about it too much. But I did. I even considered seeking specialist help. Deep down though, I knew there were only two solutions: bringing my Madeline back or conquering my mental block. Since the first was not within my control, it was up to me to try and train my mind and my thought process. So that is what I applied to myself to doing. In the small hours, any sleep we got was still often interrupted by the children. I welcomed their soothing presence. It didn't always make for the most comfortable night, however. Sometimes, by the time dawn came, it took me a moment to figure out who we were. Who was where, sorry. Shawnee arrived in the early hours of the morning and positioned himself towards the middle of our bed, with me and Jerry then squeezed together on one side, and Mally appeared several hours later, by which time Sean had gone back to his own bed. Although he did return later, I knew we should have got a super king. Another morning, I woke to find myself sandwiched between Sean and Amali, with Jerry lying across the bottom of the bed and cosy. Every time I found one or both of the children in our bed in the morning, I'd feel an immediate pang of pain and guilt. But a few weeks around the end of 2006 and the beginning of 2007, Madeline had gone through the phase of coming through to our room before morning. We'd generally been very disciplined about taking her straight back to her own bed. I'd helped her make a little reward chart, still pinned on the kitchen wall today, and we'd stuck a star for every night she stayed tucked up in bed. When she'd earned enough stars, she'd be allowed a special treat. The police had seemed strange, interested in the chart when questioning me, regardless of my explanation that it was about rewarding good behaviour. They'd insisted on referring to it as a punishment. It was a punishment chart. How I longed now to be able to lift up the duvet and feel Madeline climbing into bed next to me. She'd never have to go back to her room again. On the whole, my faith remained strong. Aside from the occasional wobble of despair, I went to church to talk privately to God, and amid the hours of toil in the study, I'd make brief forays up to the stairs to say a novena to the saint. Dear God, please help us to find Madeline. Please let the persons who have her stay calm. Please let them be treating her well. Please give them a way out. Please strengthen my faith and trust in you. Stay with us, Lord. Amen. On the 25th of September, we heard that a little blonde girl resembling Madeline had been spotted with a group of Moroccan peasants. We received a photograph taken by a Spanish tourist in which the child was being carried on a woman's back. Although she didn't look like Madeline, our first reaction was that she appeared to be too young. The picture was too grainy for us to be absolutely sure. Her hair was also parted on the wrong side of her head, but she did seem to stand out, possibly not belonging to the group. She was so fair and they were dark-haired and dark-skinned. Needless to say, a contingent of the press had already jumped on planes to Morocco to try to track her down. Madeline, in the meantime, CEOP were using special IT techniques to improve the resolution of the photograph and then facial recognition software to try to establish whether or not the child could be Madeline. Brian Kennedy called us later that evening to ask if we would like him to fly out to Morocco to find out for certain. We weren't sure if this was either necessary or wise, but at the same time, of course, we were desperate to know. So off Brian went in his plane to northern Morocco. Once again, we tried to remain calm and detached. We had to keep our rational heads on. We were fairly sure this wasn't Madeline, so it was pointless getting our hopes up. But it wasn't a high-quality photograph. And what if it hadn't grown that much? What if she hadn't grown that much because she hadn't had enough to eat, or for some reason, other environmental reasons? Her parting could easily have been changed, couldn't it? The following day, we learned that the little girl was not Madeline. In spite of her fair hair colouring, she was the daughter of the woman carrying her in the picture. It didn't seem to matter how good we thought we were at keeping our emotions in check. News like this always brought us crashing down. On 2nd of October, the National Director of the Polizia Judiciaria, Alpino Ribeiro, removed our case, a detective named Consuelo Amaral, the coordinator of the investigation into Madeline's disappearance. Until then, I barely heard of Sir Amaral. In the 5 months he held this job, I never met him. Jerry did only once, but very briefly. The reason for his removal, it was said, was that he had made controversial remarks about the involvement of the British authorities in the investigation. By the following summer, we will be hearing a lot more from the mystifying Sir Amaral. Early that month, Ribeiro also made a statement commenting on the continuing headlines in the press. He said that many were speculative or contained false information, adding that the police were still considering several other scenarios, not just the theory that Madeline had been killed. 4 months later, Ribeiro would remark in an interview that the police's decision to make us Guidos had been too hasty. Finally, we thought, someone in authority was showing common sense and decency, but it seemed these sentiments were not shared by everyone in Portugal. By May 2008, Serio was no longer in his post. By October, with the battle to clear our names underway, we were able to concentrate properly on our top priority, finding Madeline. Since the very beginning, various friends have proposed hiring private investigators. So far, beyond the following up the odd piece of information outside Portugal, we had not got down to this road. Apart from the legal complications and the potential for interference with the official investigation, we had seen reassured after a shaky start, the police were doing everything that could be done. Although we had been devastated by the slow response in the first 24 hours and by the initial lack of communication with the police. Once the investigation had got going, with the involvement of the British authorities and the cooperation of the UK police, our confidence in it had grown. The media attention also kept up the pressure on the authorities in both countries to do more. Until the summer, we had believed that our best hope of Madeline being found lay with the police. We needed to believe that. However, as the months rolled by, our faith in them had rapidly declined, hitting rock bottom in August. Once we were declared Guidos, it became frighteningly clear to us that there was no longer, and nor were they no longer, looking for Madeline. What they were looking for now, it seemed, was a conviction. Feeling more desperate for Madeline now than any time since that first night, we had no option but to launch our own investigation. But if it wasn't for all the help we had been given by Brian Kennedy, I'm not sure how or even if any search would have resumed. It just doesn't bear thinking about. We knew nothing about private investigators. As I've said, my only concept of private eyes came from freewheeling detective cracks, the case against shows on the telly, and I imagine the same went for most of my friends who suggested them. We pictured a smart lone operator, scornful of authority, who somehow always manages to see what everyone else has missed, and never fails to get his man. Of course, the real world is very different. Not that I'm saying the real life private detectives are not smart, but most of those we've come across operate within companies ranging from large international firms to smaller in-house teams, and most of their work is not quite as simple as it appears on the TV. A lot of it is conducted on behalf of corporate businesses rather than individuals, and probably involves more time on the phone or at the computer than jumping around tailing suspicious characters or physically searching for clues. Private investigators are constrained by many limitations. Unlike the police, they have no authority to question anyone who does not wish to speak to them. They are not legally allowed to search property without the owner's consent, and they do not generally have the same access as the police to resources like criminal records or car registration databases. Venturing into an unfamiliar territory of any sort is never easy, and exploring the fields of private investigation has been a total minefield for us. We were approached by many firms and individuals in several countries, all claiming to have the relevant expertise. Where do you start? How do you choose? Who do you trust? Over the course of 4 years, we've employed several different investigation teams of various sizes and structures. While each of these teams have been working on the case, we have continued to review our progress and explore new strategies and options. When we have taken on a new firm or person, it is not necessarily because we have been dissatisfied with the work of the existing or a previous team. It's simply that lines of inquiry can hit a brick wall, and it is difficult for investigators to maintain the same level of motivation over a long period if results are not forthcoming. Different people have different ideas, and often someone with something extra brings the search will come along. When it seems investigation had stalled or needs a fresh impetus, we had responded by changing or adding to the team to keep the search moving forward. It must be said, though, that the time and energy it takes to brief a new team is immense. Just bringing them up to speed is an exhausting and emotional process. Our first investigations, the Spanish company Metodo 3, began working for us in October. With private investigations technically illegal in Portugal, we felt the closest we could get will be with a firm from somewhere on the Iberian Peninsula, which would have the advantage of familiarity with the local systems, culture, and geography, and the best network of contacts in the region. M3 also had links to the Spanish police, who in turn had good connections with the Portuguese police. I need to have a drink. Need to have a drink. Oh, that was nice. We assembled all the source material we could for the investigators, passing on my detailed chronology of events and the research we were compiling, making endless lists of potential witnesses, some of whom we knew the police had interviewed. Many more we suspected they had not, and reported sightings of the little girl who would have been Madeline. As a result of the huge publicity the case had been given, the police and press had been overwhelmed by such reports from the outset. Sometimes Madeline had been seen in different countries, thousands of miles apart, on the same day. These tip-offs needed to be sifted out, and any credible information followed up. We have no doubt that M3 made significant strides, but unfortunately, in mid-December, one of their senior investigators gave an overly optimistic interview to the media. He implied that the team were close to finding Madeline and declared that he hoped she would be home by Christmas. Jerry and I did not pay much heed to this bullshit assertions, while we believed they'd been made in an attempt to cast the search in a positive light. We knew that such public declarations would not be helpful. Credibility is so important. That glitch apart, M3 worked very hard for us, and just for the record, their fees were very low. Most of the money they were paid for verified expenses. Although we went on to employ new teams, we maintained good relations with M3 today. We had the sense that they generally cared about Madeline's fate, something that sadly we have found we cannot take for granted. We had one particularly bad experience with a man named Kevin Halligan, or Richard as we knew him. Halligan was the CEO of a private investigation firm called Oakley International, which was hired by Madeline's fund for 6 months from the end of March 2008. Oakley's proposal and overall strategy were streets ahead of all the others. We considered, and the company came highly recommended. As the sums of money involved were pretty hefty, we agreed that our contract with them would be split into 3 phases, with a break clause at the end of each phase. This gave us an opportunity to terminate the contract at any of these points if we wished to do so, without incurring financial penalties. An independent consultant was also employed by the fund to liaise with Oakley and to oversee the work they were doing. The first and second phases of the contract ran fairly smoothly. Oakley had put into place systems together, collate and prioritise and follow up the information coming in as a result of appeals Jerry and I had made around the first anniversary of Madeline's abduction. There is little doubt that at that stage, progress was being made. During the third phase, however, we began to have concerns. Feedback appeared to be less forthcoming, and contact with certain members from Oakley team dropped off. At first, we couldn't be sure whether this was a manifestation of the inevitable waning motivation I've mentioned of a more troubling problem. Rumours about Halligan prompted us to make inquiries before we decided whether or not we should extend our contract with them. To cut a long story short, we chose not to do so. The termination of the contract in September 2008 was quite acrimonious, and unfortunately, that was not the end of it. Several months later, one of the investigators subcontracted by Oakley contacted us to demand payment for his services. We had already settled Oakley's bills for this month's work before, but apparently the company had not paid him. He was not the only one. Over time, several more unpaid subcontractors came to light. We were upset that although a lot of hard work had been done on Madeline's behalf, it seemed money provided by her funds might not have ever reached the people who had earned it. In November 2009, we heard that Halligan had been arrested on suspicion of fraud after a discrepancy in a hotel bill. He is currently on remand in Belmarsh prison fighting extradition to the USA in connection with money laundering and wire fraud charges, all of which he denies. For the most part, though, our experiences with independent investigators have been good. Our current tried and trusted team has more or less been in place with a few modifications since October 2008. It is spearheaded by a former police officer with input from strategy advisors and specialists in various fields as required. This enables us to recruit the best qualified people available to handle particular tasks when they arise, and it's a system from which we have made encouraging progress. As we got our first investigation team up and running in the autumn of 2007, Jerry returned to work at Glenfields Hospital as a part-time basis from November, full-time from January 2008. While I stayed at home with the children, and apart from the fact that no salaries had been coming in for months, he had to go back for the sake of our own sanity. His driving role in our campaign was severely restricted by our agreed status and the obstacles it placed in our path. Jerry is passionate about his work. He needed to keep busy and focusing on different projects, helping him to cope. If it is a generalization that men compartmentalize their lives, it's certainly true of Jerry. Although every evening after the kids are in bed, he is at his computer or on the phone, meeting the demands of his other job, continuing the campaign to find Madeline. I'm sure Jerry's approach is healthier, but I reacted differently. With Madeline constantly in my head, trying to return to my old life would have felt to me as if I was someone pushing it to one side, and I simply couldn't do it. It had been essential that Madeline and the rest of the family remain my priority, and I wanted to be around more for Sean and Amali than would have been possible would not have been possible as I returned to general practice. I wondered too if I'd actually be able to cope with it now. All GPs have a handful of patients who present with comparatively trivial problems. In view of what I've been through and I'm going through still, I'd be concerned I wouldn't have quite the sympathetic ear I once possessed. And I'm sure some of my patients would undoubtedly find it awkward dealing with me too. On a practical level, there has been too much to do in any case, especially more recently, although I have been blessed with plenty of willing helpers. Even handling the mail is virtually a full-time job, and some projects such as analysing the police files once they were released to us have involved months of work. We were dreading our first Christmas without Madeline. As winter approached, the prospect of this usually joyous occasion only deepened the ever-present sense of loss. One morning in November, Amali talked incessantly about his sister on the way to nursery. Madeline's getting a big teddy bear for Christmas, she was saying as we arrived. By this time, I was quite tearful. It always warms my heart to hear Sean and Amali chatting about Madeline, but it was the mention of Christmas that tipped me over the edge. I had a few words and a few hugs with a couple of the girls who looked after the twins, then pulled myself together and got on with the rest of the day. That night, I headed to bed relatively early. It had been a tough day emotionally, and I was quite tired. Stupidly, I switched on the television to catch the news headlines and caught a review of the next morning's papers. Within seconds, I was confronted by Madeline's face on the front page of a tabloid beneath a headline screaming, "She's dead." I got little sleep after that. I thought I would never be able to stop crying. The pain was crippling. Early in December, Amali said to me, "Mummy, Madeline's coming." When I asked, "Santa's going to give her a big cuddle, then bring her to Mummy." We couldn't have faced Christmas on our own. We spent it quietly at Anna Michael's in Yorkshire with my mum and dad, and then went up to see Jerry's family in Scotland for a few days in Glasgow. I slept on an airbed with Amali when Sean wanted a proper bed, not the most comfortable of arrangements. Girls together, said Amali, "Mummy, Amali, Madeline. I'll save this place for her, for Madeline." We had hoped that the judicial secrecy restrictions would be lifted early in 2008, giving us access to the police files and with the freedom to speak. It was not to be. The police asked for a 3-month extension because of the unusual complexity of the case. The president of the Portuguese Order of Lawyers, Antonio Marina Pinto, apparently took another view. He was later to be quoted as saying, "There are strong reasons to fear that the judicial secrecy is being used to conceal the fact that the police have gone down a blind alley and don't have any way out." On Tuesday, the 8th of January, 250 days since Madeline's abduction, there were more appalling headlines. It was her blood in the parents' hire car. The emphasis was clearly designed to present this completely false assertion as incontrovertible fact. As we tried desperately to keep the public looking for our child, elements of the press, it seemed, were hell-bent on telling the world not to bother because she was definitely dead. This was our daughter they were writing about. How could these people be so heartless? Happy New Year. These terrible headlines never lost their power to cause us profound distress. The worst culprits were the Daily Express, and to a slightly lesser extent, the London Evening Standard. The previous year, after one of the outrageous fantasies claiming that we had tranquilised our children, we had got in touch with Adam Tudor, a Carter Rook, and began to explore the possibility of taking legal action. As we did not want to make enemies of the major media organisations, we decided to keep this as an absolute last resort. We had relied on them in the past to get our message out to the public, and we knew we would need their assistance again in the future, but this was fast becoming the only option left to us. Now, in the space of a couple of weeks in January, the Express published 3 completely untrue stories, which basically rehashed yet again coverage dating back to September 2007, when we had been made a Guidos. It was the last straw. We had tried every avenue and felt if we didn't do something, these fabrications, as well as discrediting our efforts to find our daughter, were going to follow us for the rest of our lives. We had a meeting with Adam Tudor, who was extremely helpful and went through the pros and cons of legal action in considerable detail. Adam, hold on, my headset's flew off. Sorry, guys. Bloody hell, I don't know where I am. So agreed to take on the case on a no-win, no-fee basis, and that certainly made our decision a lot easier. The thought of having to spend potentially hundreds of thousands of pounds to get justice would have been a major deterrent. Oh my god, these are flying off my head. What's happening? It took a couple of months of legaling, toing and froing, but the Express Group finally conceded that their stories were untrue. They agreed to acknowledge this in the High Court, and on the front pages of both the Express and the Daily Star, stating that they had agreed to pay 550,000 into Madeline's fund to aid the continuing search. Although the sum was much higher than we anticipated and we would have been ready to accept, we had been told that if the case went to court, we could accept substantially more and potentially exemplary damages. A departure from the principle that the purpose of awarding damages is to compensate the plaintiff rather than punish the defendant. In other words, the Express Group could have been additionally penalised not only for causing us harm, but for doing so for purely commercial motives. But for Jerry and me, the money was very much a secondary matter, though of course hitting the Express Group in the pocket would underline the seriousness of the offence and serve as a warning to others to think twice before running similar material. All we really wanted was for these articles to stop and for the Express Group to admit they were untrue. The corrosive effects of their stream of lies, over 100 articles were cited in our action about the search for Madeline, and us were immeasurable, and we would much rather none of it had ever been printed in the first place. With freedom of the press comes a moral responsibility to behave with integrity. Publishing untrue allegations harms lives. Sometimes the harm is irreversible, regardless of apologies and financial compensation. As a family, we only barely managed to survive, and I am sure that without the support of the general public, friends and family, and those who came directly to our aid, like Brian Kennedy, Edward Smethurst, Richard Branson, and Stephen Wynyard, who were prepared to stand up for us in our darkest hour, we probably wouldn't have done. When our action against the Express Group was concluded, we also issued a formal complaint against associated newspapers and particularly the London Evening Standard, which at that stage they owned. After a rather protracted series of negotiations, we came to an agreement involving financial compensation and a front-page apology in the Standard. We should probably have successfully sued all the national newspapers in the UK, but we didn't want to spend time and energy on long wars of attrition like these. Besides, we had achieved our aim. The press were now well aware that we would take action if they continued to print these fictions about us and Madeline, and as a result, coverage in the UK did improve at last. With hindsight, we probably should have done this earlier, but by the time we finally did so, we were prepared to go the distance. It's just a shame we had to do it all, and if the media had listened to us, to Angus Justin Clarence, and to the Chief Constable of Leicestershire Police, it could have been avoided. In the wake of our libel action against the Express Group, the 7 friends who were on holiday with us in Portugal also filed formal complaints against the company. They settled out of court for a total of 375,000, which was also paid directly into Madeline's fund. Robert Murat too had his problems with the media. He received 600,000 in damages and apologies from 4 newspaper groups, and later further substantial damages and another apology from Sky Television for numerous false claims published about him. Adam Tudor and his colleague Isabel Hudson continued to do a vast amount of work for us without payment, most of it quietly behind the scenes. They have given us invaluable advice, for example, in our attempts to deal with the widespread defamatory material circulating on the internet. We have taken action against one or two websites, but it has proved almost impossible to get this stuff removed from some of them, particularly those hosted in the USA. Friends flag up some of the worst offenders for us, but in the end, it comes down to picking your battles. You could spend your whole life doing nothing but trying to shut down crank websites with little prospect of success. The January, we also began our campaign for the introduction of coordinated child rescue alerts within Europe. We knew to our cost that the response to child abductions can often be hazard and disorganised, and we'd seen on a European visit how widely procedures varied, given the ease in which anyone, including abductors and child traffickers, could now move from country to country. There was an urgent need not only for properly functional national systems, but for a cooperative policy that allowed the launch of cross-border alerts when appropriate. A lot of groundwork had already been done to develop and improve unified CRAs by the European Commission with the help of Missing Children Europe and individual NGOs, but we hoped that our involvement and the publicity it would bring might help speed up the process. It had always been part of our plan for the future of the Find Madeline campaign to use our resources and the attention focused on us to try to save other children and their families from the same nightmare. As a result of the unprecedented publicity surrounding our case, Madeline's image had become almost iconic. The face that represented all missing children, her plight had brought the whole issue into the spotlight, greatly increasing public awareness. That was something positive in itself. We realised that while the appetite for news of her remains high, we should capitalise on the platform it gave us to help other missing children. Until Madeline was taken, I'd been aware of only a few child abductions and murder cases. Horrific though they seemed such a rare occurrence. And of course, you never dream anything like this will happen to your family. As we learned more and discovered the massive scale of the problem, we were appalled, sickened, and perplexed at first by how little I had known. I was only now beginning to realise that such ignorance was widespread. In general, these crimes are so poorly publicised, probably because they are so low on the political agendas of too many countries that public awareness too is low. It is difficult to be precise about the number of children who go missing each year, primarily because there is no standardised method for collecting, recording and categorising data within Europe or even nationally. Some countries have no recording systems at all. For every high-profile case like ours, there are many others that go unreported by the media. In the UK alone, in 2009, more than 200,000 reports of missing children and teenagers were received by the police. This figure encompasses a wide range of cases, of course, including runaways and juveniles absconding from care homes, who make up the great majority of this number, as well as parental and family abductions, and the most serious, but thankfully by far the smallest group, stranger abductions or stereotypical kidnappings as they are known in the US. An average of more than 600 child abductions a year have been recorded since 2004 to 2005 in England and Wales. The real figure, however, is likely to be much higher. A significant number of family abductions, which according to several official sources are worryingly on the increase, are not actually reported, and other cases may be omitted from the statistics. For example, those do not meet the legal definition of child abduction. It is important to note too that abductions leading to more serious crimes, such as sexual abuse or homicide, will not be overlooked as abductions, but as the more serious crime. Not all attempted abductions will necessarily be recorded either, depending on the procedure of various police forces, which can also distort the true picture. What is not in doubt is that the available statistics underestimate the scale of the problem. Child abduction and attempted abductions are not isolated incidents and occur in every country. Authorities and governments who suggest otherwise are likely to be hiding the truth. Having your child stolen is the most terrible ordeal imaginable. As a parent, you need to know that all that can be done is being done, and as quickly and as thoroughly as possible. The gold standard in child rescue alert systems in the USA's Amber Alert, an acronym for America's Missing Broadcast Emergency Response, and named for Amber Hageman, a 9-year-old girl abducted, raped, and murdered in Texas in 1996. Oh my God. Jerry had been hugely impressed by what he had learned about the Amber Alert system on his visit to the States the previous year. It is a voluntary partnership between law enforcement agencies, broadcasters, transport companies, and the wireless industry to activate an agent bulletin in the gravest child abduction cases. It is important that it is reserved for the most serious situations, defined by a set of criteria to avoid the airwaves being constantly inundated by false alarms that might dilute the attention and response of the public. The goal of an Amber Alert is to instantly galvanize the assistance of the entire community. Its reason to deter is simple. Time is the enemy in the search for an abducted child. It was clear to Jerry and me that if such a procedure had been in use in Portugal, Madeline might have been swiftly tracked down. It breaks our hearts just thinking about it. In 2001, the NCMEC launched a campaign to promote a program original, a local initiative in Texas. Across the country, an Amber Alert training kit, video, and manual for law enforcement agencies and broadcasters were produced and distributed nationwide. At the time, there were only 27 Amber systems in operation. Now there are over 120, and it continues to grow and evolve, as well as dramatically improving the speed and success rate of the recovery of abducted children. 532 to date as a direct result of an Amber Alert activation. It has been found to deter some abductors who may release a child on hearing of an Amber Alert bulletin. In 2003, the USA established a nationwide Amber Alert system, which is coordinated by the Assistant Attorney General. Key to the success of this program is that it's driven by the government, countries in Europe needing similar leadership. I think it would be fair to say that Europe is at least 20 years behind the US in dealing with this issue. At the time of Madeline's abduction, only 2 of the 27 countries in the European Union had a national child rescue alert system in place. France and Belgium, a scheme in Greece was launched soon afterwards. In Britain, Sussex had been the first police force to introduce such a programme. In 2002, followed by Surrey, Hampshire, and by 2005, every force in England and Wales operated a CRA. However, they were rarely, if ever, used and were not joined up across the country. My God. National coordination of CRAs is essential, and for this reason, it is vital that the implementation of these systems is spearheaded by government. In February 2008, Jerry and I travelled to Brussels to meet the team of Missing Children Europe, the umbrella organisation for 21 NGOs in 15 EU states, each battling child abduction and sexual exploitation in their own countries. I use the word team loosely. We were taken back to discover that the MCA then consisted of just 2.5 staff. I asked Delphine Morales, the Deputy Secretary General, why there seemed to be such resistance in European countries to develop CRAs. She put it down to the lack of understanding about what these involve and how they work, stressing the importance of cross-border alerts. She cited and recited case of a child abducted in northern France. The French child rescue alert, the Alerte Événement, was launched, but the weakness here was that while people hundreds of miles away in the south of the country received the alert, absurdly, the Belgians less than half an hour away from where the abduction had occurred knew nothing about it. Although it was an informative day, we left feeling very demoralised. It was obvious that there was a little movement within Europe in terms of protecting children from abduction and exploitation, and what was happening painfully slowly because of the bureaucracy involved. There also seemed to be a sense of resignation about all of this. Yes, it's frustrating, but what can we do? I felt utterly exasperated. Why aren't all EU countries rushing to develop CRAs? I kept asking myself, why aren't governments financing such projects? Tackling child abduction and sexual crimes against children seem to be very far down their action list. Yeah, and we all know why that is, don't we? That's me saying that, that's not in the book. Was there thinking that it would be wiser to keep the problem quiet as not to panic the population? That people need to believe we are a modern society and our countries are safe, that children don't vote, that counter-terrorism measures and fighting gang crime bring greater plaudits, lack of financial incentive, or simply that missing children are just that, missing, out of sight, out of mind. On our return, we enlisted the help of one of the UK's top human rights lawyers, Geoffrey Robertson, QC. He kindly produced a written declaration we could take to the European Parliament to try to push to the top of the political agenda the need for a unified child rescue alert across the continent. In March, Jerry and I watched a documentary about Caroline Dickinson, a 13-year-old British girl who was sexually assaulted and murdered in her bed in a youth hostel dormitory on a school trip to France in 1996. The perpetrator of this appalling crime, Francisco Javier Arce Montes, was finally caught years later, thanks to an observant US immigration official. The intendant sexual deviants had been assaulting young girls all over Europe for 20 years before killing Caroline. Despite having been convicted and jailed several times, on his release, Montes was able to carry on committing similar crimes and evading capture simply by moving from region to region and from one country to another. If ever there was an argument for a European sex offenders register or even national one in those states that don't have it, surely this is it. 1st of March, unbelievable. I feel so angry with Europe and this so-called European Union. We need to start demanding. We need information. Everyone who was in Praia de Lou for a start, all DNA, especially unidentified DNA, and subsequent testing of people in the area. We need information regarding similar offences. How we go about it, I don't know. But it's time to start brainstorming again. I was struck by how common it is for such crimes to be repeated over and over again by the same people. If Madeline's abductor was a sex offender or a child trafficker, for example, the chances are that he would have offended before. I cast my mind back to what the British consul had told me in the police station in Port Mayo that first day about the reports there had been of intruders getting into beds with children. I needed to know more about this. I got in touch with the retired British consul for the Algarve. He told me that he used to have regular monthly meetings with the British tour operators along the coast in Albufeira, at which crime was invariably one of the topics covered. At one of these meetings in August 2006, he had been informed by the tour operators of the space of incidents. I'd heard about the day after Madeline was taken, in which an intruder had got into a holiday apartment at night, climbed into children's beds, and subjected them to various forms and degrees of molestation. It seemed the attacker would often lock the door to the parents' bedroom before assaulting the children. In one case, the paedophile had put on some of the father's aftershave in an attempt to soothe or deceive the child. It was believed that the offender or offenders watched for the patterns and routines in a family's behaviour, established weaknesses, and in the security of their apartment had determined in advance where parents and children slept. Cold shivers ran down my spine. As it is home, this might have applied to us. The British tour operators have been keen for this information to remain confidential, and you don't have to be a genius to work out why that might be. I pressed the former British consul on what happened afterwards. Had there been an investigation? Had anybody been convicted? He wasn't sure, but thought that an immigrant construction worker had been arrested and released pending trial, which was likely to take place some years down the line. Unbelievable. Well, girls, I'll leave that there. I don't even know if I've gone over, gone under, or what, but I feel like I've been going on for weeks, and you'll be sick of listening to me. I'm just gonna clock the time now. Hold on. Let's see if I'm kidding myself or what. Hold on. Look, near lost the marker. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Oh no, just a little over. That's it. How are we all doing anyway? My tongue feels like it's numb. Let me tell you, I'm talking like that. Oh God, I can't believe that though, can you? Wouldn't you think we'd all have that Amber Alert? Wouldn't you think we would all have that? I can't believe it. I was talking to someone, well, it's a few weeks back, months back even, that we don't have an Amber Alert here. And we don't even have it on the news. Very rare you see if kids go missing here on the news. Very, very rare. You're welcome, Pink. You're welcome, Gail. And you, Liz, you're welcome too. You're all welcome. But my tongue feels like at the front it's blown up. I feel like I've got a fat tongue at the front. Hiya, Paul. Good to meet you. Thanks, JB. Is Arlene still here or is she gone? Oh my God, Lexi, you still there? That was epic. I've only heard what the press had to say at the time. Oh, you know what, Lex? It's been terrible. You know where you think, are they guilty, are they this, that, and the other? And like you say, you see what the press pour out there, and it makes them look guilty or shifty. But when you read the book and you hear the mother, the way she prays for that child as being heart wrenching, it's been awful. I don't think they had anything to do with it. I don't. What do you think, Lexi? Have you got any opinion on it? Hello, Leanie. Do you know what, Liz? Go for it. Go for it. Send me it. I'll send it to everyone here. Maggie, we've met a few times. Am I that forgettable? Oh, Paul, don't. I'm in the menopause. And if you've come before I hit the menopause. This is why I forgot you. So can you remind me, please? Have we got any nice memories, Paul, you and I? It is, Lexi, it is. Never mind laughing, Paul. Come on. Who are you? Reveal yourself. Similar to the tacos puff crispy. What's that? I'm thinking you're saying that the Amber Alert similar to the tacos puff crispy. Hello, dear. How are you, RC? Oh, I've been here all week, RC. I think my tongue's on the edge. It can't take much more. I've not got much left. And then it's over. I was letting it slide, Maggie, this time. Oh, all right, Paul. Thanks for that. Oh, my God. You're welcome, Lee. I don't think they did anything. But you never know. You can never be 100%, can you? But I feel it, Paul, in me heart. I'm banging my chest. I feel it in me heart. I'd say I'm 99% sure that they are absolutely in turmoil and they haven't done anything. How often do you hear of children go missing? And because they left them kids, they were on to do that, they shouldn't have gone and left that kids. Knowing there was another entrance into the apartment. Oh my God. But you know what? They're paying the price now because they are toast. They're devastated. Google lunch lady. You might call them something different. What are we looking at here? Lexi is at IT, Maggie. Oh, Lexi, don't tell her you've had IT because you know what? She'll be on your case. She'll be following you all over the YouTube street. She thinks all us Brits have IT. I said only the posh people. You must be posh. RC, listen. Have you been here all this time listening to the Madeline story? Or have you been chatting with these in chat? I bet you were dying to tell me to shut up. Lol, I think I just didn't read what you wrote right. I thought you said they were jacket potatoes. At least, Maggie, how could I ever forget you, RC? How could I ever forget you? You're the only man I've been on the phone to 5 hours since I met my husband. There you go. Say no more, RC. That's between me and you. Say nothing. I probably had high tea when I was a teenager. Oh, Stacey, you now, lunchy. Stacey, you and the price of fish. You can come to mine for high tea. Posh, not me. My nan was there. Well, listen, that's what I said, Lex. All the older generation, if you go into an old lady's house and she offers you a cup of tea, 9 out of 10, you're going to get a little teacup and saucer, aren't you? We're here, we've got mugs and they're all different. Everyone's got their own mugs. And it's don't use that, that's mine. Don't be giving that. Someone comes in, they're all looking at you side eye and you're like that, as if to say, do not touch my cup to give to the neighbours or something like that. So we've all got our own cups and the neighbours or anyone's are all washing away in the cupboards. You were listening? Oh, thank you, RC. Thank you. You're near the end now. Near the end. It's been awful sad. Do you know the story of Madeline McCann? Lainey is the most posh person I know. Oh, I know. She puts her finger out and everything when she eats a bagel. Did you know that? She puts a little finger out when she eats a bagel. Honest to God. Even when she calls the dogs. She goes, little girl, and her little finger's out. Swear to God. Ask her. I'm just swigging this cup here. Bear with me. Do you know what? I had chicken soup tonight and I was trying to get it down my mouth that quick because I was starving. I've got all little blisters at the sides of my tongue. Yeah, she puts a little finger out through the bagel holes and spins it round her finger. That wallpaper looks so nice. Which wallpaper? Wait, my one, my green one, which is from the same person that Leanie got hers, because I thought, well, if Leanie's getting it, so am I. So I put it on there with my picture. How about that? If Leanie can have it, I can have it, says me. Yep, why not? So, I can take that off now. And there's my bosoms again, pulsating as I speak. Let me get back to comments before I get locked. Oh my God, which wallpaper? Just Googled William Morris wallpaper. That wallpaper I've just had on behind me on that overlay is William Morris. I got it because I said, well, if she can have it, I'm getting it. Every one of us put William Morris wallpaper behind our pictures. So Leanie's not the only one to have it. Says me too, see? So everyone just get William Morris. I'm going to use that avatar and have me a wallpaper printed. Do it, girl. I'll make you one. Just let me know what you want. Send me the wallpaper you want at the back of you, and I'll do you the picture. Pulsating boobs and all. Yeah, just go on panel and talk non-stop, and it just pulsates. Woo, 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 see? Lol, I have the real wallpaper. I made up here. Oh my God, the dog's snoring. You know what? Oh, Leanie, do you know today? Wait till I tell you what happened. Wait till I tell you all what happened. So, remember the other day, the dog shit on the back seat of the car? Well, there's something going on because let me tell you, she's never done anything like this in the 9 years I've had her. Right? Lunchy's made up for you as well. So, guys, listen to this. I see the dog shit on the back seat of the car, right? And it was diarrhea. It was the worst time in my life. We had to scoop it up with bags. Anyway, so I'm in bed this morning. I'm scrolling through my phone, probably looking at Madeline Susu because that's all I'm interested in at the moment. And the next thing, I'm sort of semi sitting up but lying down. So Jessie jumps on me chest and me stomach and sticks her ass right in me face. And I goes, I smell dog shit. So I thrown her one off of the bed. So I went, oh my God. And she always tells me if she's got a dirty bum, she can't stand a dirty bum. So I went, get in that bathroom. So she run in the bathroom. I'm getting all kinds of wipes, soaking them in the sink and washing it. And it wasn't on a bum, it was on the hair, the fur of a tail hanging down. So it was, the smell's terrible. So it cleans all that, walks into the bedroom, and the next thing, as I pulled the quilt like that, the shit all over the quilt. Oh, well, I'm screaming and I'm barking, and then I'm going, oh, that dog shit. Oh, well, it was awful. So I'm going round and I'm cleaning the shit, bits of shit off the bed. Then starts to strip. Oh, I said, I don't believe this. It's not even 9 o'clock. Couldn't cope with it. So that had to get stripped. So there's something going on with Jess, something going on. She's had diarrhea now 5 days. I just thought I'd tell you this, right? Now, she hasn't been right since she last had that worming tablet. She's never, ever had this like this, ever. She might be a bit loose the next day after having a worming tablet, but not like this. This is 5 days. So tomorrow, She's just getting chicken and rice. And if this carries on, she's going to the doctors on Monday. She'll have to. I can't put up with this shit. I don't know what's going on with a little belly. Maggie, stop spilling coffee and Jess shit in the bed. Honest to God. Well, I've stopped spilling the coffee, haven't I? She fucking needs to stop shit in the bed. Oh, I couldn't believe it. It asked right in my face. But do you know what? She always tells me, but normally, if I'm sitting down on the chair, she'll jump up and scratch my legs, and then we won't stop until I get her attention. She gets my attention, and then I just know that because she's been out, that what's wrong. So I'll always make sure she's clean. She does not like a dirty bum at all. Have you ever known a dog in your life like it? I swear to God, she's human. Right in my face. Swear to God, I just smelt. Oh God, the smell was a river. I can't be going through this much more. I can't. I'll be phoning up this vet and telling the vet what I've had to cope with this week. Sorry, this is not funny. It fucking wasn't funny. I tell you. I was up and down this morning. Oh, I was getting into bed. I was knackered. I was like that. After running back and forwards, I swear down on my life on a plane. I swear down. Little spots of shit everywhere. Couldn't cope. Oh, she's mad you wanted that other dog. She said she'll teach you. Oh, I couldn't have coped. Well, that poor little dog, poor Cece's ways, isn't she? Poor Cece's waist. I'll have to phone and see how she's doing. Feel terrible though because they haven't got a home for her. They're waiting to rehome the little puppies first. She wanted to choke Max, but has no thumbs. Hey, Leanie, you're looking into things too much. Are you take? I am the same. As soon as you said that, I knew what you meant with your thumbs because Chris Watts done that, which yeah, he's done that. We're watching too much crime. On my life on a plane. Tell him what I mean. JB doesn't know what I mean, or I don't think you know what I mean. You're asking swear on a plane. When I'm telling something right and I'm telling the truth, I go swear down on my life on a plane. That means I tell him the truth. I say swear down anyway, but I just think people will believe me more if I say that. Oh, see it, Leanie. Oh my God, it's crazy. Crazy. Where's Pink? Is she gone? Lizzo, poor Jessie, poor Maggie. Oh no, but you know what? She's snoring. I'm going to have to wake her up. She's like a baby. She'll make me up through the night. What's that? Maggie, ring the vet. Get Pro Max. It's a probiotic and works. Is it? Because what they normally say to me is give it chicken and rice. How can I get? Do I need what's it called? A prescription for that? Is it a prescription one? I was telling Leanie for anyone who's interested, anyone who's got any pets and goes to the vets and get these prescriptions, the tablets or whatever from the vets, you don't have to. I've been going to the vets for years and years because I've always had dogs. And I remember seeing a programme on the telly by Judge Rinder, and he was saying he'd taken his dog to the vet. He says, and the vet bills are terrible, which they are. He says, well, I'm telling you now, you do not have to buy from the vets. He says, ask them for the prescription and go up to an online vet, it's close around because they're all different, and get them from there with your prescription. And you know what? It was costing me 200 what was it, Alec? Costing me for the wormer and all the stuff off the vet. 200 and what? 30? £230 to pay for whatever we got at the time. And online it cost what, $39.99? Alice, was it $39.99 online?
79 something, I think it was.
No, wasn't. It was 39 or 40 quid.
Yeah.
I swear down, I'll get the receipts and I'll show you. So it just shows you how much they're making. When I thought mate up for you meant I just love you the whole time. No, mate up for you just like sarky, like, yeah, mate up for you. Not the word, shut up. What if you call if you call a television a telly, what is a telephone called? Phone. My friends want to know. Who's your friends? I want to know. Oh, Leanie's saying, hi, honey. He's got his headphones on. You can't hear you unless I wave in front of him. So how about that, Leanie? So we call it a phone. And we don't use phones here now, only mobiles or cell phones as you call them. I know, JB. That's why I said, who's your friends? Ah. See, she only got me. Shut up, you. You got the bestest friend there is, me. Mobile Moby, yeah. I tell you what, if I go to the toilet and I haven't got my phone, I go into a sweat. I have never realised. Have you gone out and left your phone behind? Oh my God. Don't tell me you don't have nervous breakdown. Because I do. That's it. We've got one. I forget what we've got it for, but I've never used it. I don't even know the number. The only time that phone rings is when my friends in Canada ring. No one else rings that phone. Fuck off, Maggie. He and I already phone this morning. Hey, Alan, did you phone with Leanie this morning? Leanie said she phone with you this morning. Oh, was that what it was? I walked past him, something hit me. I forgot he was on the phone to you. Oh, JB, you know what? There is times that I am really glad not to have mine. But sometimes I feel totally like I'm having a nervous breakdown. Honestly, I go, oh my God. I remember I could go to the toilet without my phone. It wouldn't even inch. I used to think, why do men have to take a newspaper in the toilet? Because there's newspapers in the toilet, isn't there? Why do men do that? I could never get it. That's what Leanie calls it. Alec might have another story. Oh, Alec's in his own little world at the minute. Got his headphones on. I looked over before. His chin was on his chest and he was snoring. Oh, you heard that, didn't you? Hey, you heard that, didn't you?
So you're looking over.
Yeah. Go to bed. Yeah, go to bed. Time for your bed. You've got to be up early in the morning. Oh, I've got to be up at the crack. You know what that means, don't you? So have I. Well, you know what? I'm going back asleep. I'm not getting up at the crack because it just ruins me for the day. No. He was thinking about Leanie. Think about fucking Leanie all he likes. Why don't you run away into the beautiful sunsets? Hey, why don't you run away? I will run away. I will run away with you. Don't even know the words. I am his world. You're my world. You are my night and day. You rocked his world. Talk to you in the morning, honey. I'll tell Honey in a minute when Honey takes his headphones off. Because he's not stepping over here now to rob this off me. Because that's what will happen. The headphone will be off me and on his head. And he'll think he's great then on live. Oh, what are you making for your tea tonight, Lee? I don't know. It's up to the boss, Pink. It's up to the boss. I have to ask the boss. Leanie, when are we going live? She said. I'm trying to get my my phone to what is it called? My YouTube account to go with Leanie's YouTube account. So, because sometimes I just want to do a pop-up live, say if I'm going out in the car or something, and go on Leanie's account, because I couldn't bear to go on mine. And I want to do it like that, you know, so sometimes through the day, I can just do a pop-up if I'm going anywhere. Oh, yeah, celebrity wife swap. Didn't Molly Go Lightly do that one time? She did, didn't she? I might go live in the morning. Well, I'm telling you now, if he's going out at silly o'clock, I won't be on till silly o'clock to you. I'll be like zombies Dawn of the Dead. Nothing worse when I get woke up. I can't go back asleep no matter how tired I am. Why do I look like I've got a cock eye on that picture? Don't I? I've only just noticed it. If I can get a nap. A nap. You sound like a scouser then. A nap means an app. We'd say if we get a nap. Why am I even telling you that? Is there any point? Wait. Pink says wait. Wait. I'm waiting, Pink. What time, Max? What time, what, Lee? Oh, what time are you going live in the morning? You mean, what time should we go live? Excuse me. Do you know what time do you reckon? Hang on, I'm getting lost. She does. What time, Max? You do not, she does. What are we talking about, girls? I'm lost. Nobody is looking at her eyes. Well, I am, and I've got a cock eye, look. Oh, you do not have a cock eye, you mean? Jessica, wakey, wakey, rise and shine. Come here, baby. Have you been asleep for them 2 hours? Oh, no. What time are you getting up? I don't know. I haven't got a clue. He's going out at the crack, so I'll go back asleep probably about an hour after. So, don't wait for me. You go on. And then, what was that? I was waiting for some cock hikes. No. You go on as usual, and then I'll jump in when I wake up. If you want to do that, or if you want to wait for me, it's entirely up to yourself. I'm trying to think. I mean, I could very well be up, do you know what I mean? I just don't know how I'm going to sleep. If you have a decent kip, I'll be fine. But if I've been up all fucking night with one thing and another, and then I go to sleep, and then he wakes me up going out to work, I'll be knackered. Oh, Lexi, do you know what? I'm so sorry, love. I thought you'd gone. Oh, sorry, Lex. Thanks for coming in. Thanks very much, love. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I hope to see you again. Give us a like, Lex, and subscribe, please. Thank you. Good night and God bless, love. Bye. Shut up, you're a hooch. What's a hooch? Maggie, don't tell me what to do, you hooch. What's a hooch, Lee? It's a hooch. Hooch is a drink here. Hooch. Or as Scousers call it, a hooch. Hoochie mama. What's a hoochie mama? You Americans come out with some crackers. When you say a hooch, that sounds to me like a whore. I know it's not, but that's what it sounds like. A floozy. I wasn't far off then, was I? Queen Hooch, that's me. Ask Pink fan. Hey Pink, spill the beans, girl. Oh, Leonie's the biggest flake going. I don't think I've ever met anyone as big a flake as Leonie. Hooch is a drink too. Hooch is a drink too here. Is it, JB? Hooch. All the kids were having them hooches. Hooch. Well, I just thought to tell you this, so I'm going to tell you. I've been in Labatt. There you go. I went in the big Labatt's with you, mate, putting all the bottle of beers when I was in Canada. I said Lexi got off lightly being introduced to this channel, Maggie. He did, didn't he? It's a good job I was up on my own. Imagine if it had been me and Leonie. Poor Lexi would have been up on panel. Ship, ship, shade and ship, ship. Folks down dripping and I'm losing my mind. Walking in circles and I'm tucking in rhyme. They make hooch in jail too, don't they? I've got no idea. I'm not a criminal. I only pinched a lip liner. I'm reading this chat. JB, whiskey. Hang on, anyone. Hooch is a drink here too. Hooch is a whiskey, JB. Did you say? It's not a whiskey here, it's the kids' drink here. Hooch. Yeah, he got to keep his shirts on. Yeah. Oh no, hooch here is, like I said, it's like the kids' drink here. What's in hooch, Pink? What would you say? What it's like? I don't drink, so I don't know. What's lies? Yeah, like a lemon. Oh, shut up, you. I do, don't I? But I don't have a record, I believe. I was crying my eyes out, thinking the police were going to be looking at my case every time, and I'd be thinking I was disgusting. I felt disgusting. Never felt so low in my life the way I thought they were looking at me. And apparently I don't have it. It'd be gone now. It'd be gone now, Leonie. So shut up. The thought of it makes me sick. Most expensive liner. Got some pictures of the graveyard scales as well. Got them for Leonie the other day. All the old gravestones. You'd be able to see them, some really old ones. Don't know where that come from, talking about hooch. Easy fat, juicy to inform, lol. Most expensive liner. They are, hang on. They are most juicy to inform, lol. £85. Oh, that's me fine. Me fine. Let's see if one of my pictures of the gravestones up. Hang on. Let's see if I put them on here. Couldn't be a day without me talking about death, could it? No, I don't think I have. Gonna have to remove some pictures, Lee. Gonna have to let you do that. In case you kill me for moving any. Oh no, I haven't got none on here, have I? Keep forgetting them on the laptop. Two different conversations. Your cemetery is beautiful. I like it over the far outside from where it was. That's what they were all starting to come together there where I was showing you. But right at the back, they're really, really old. What is she moving? I'm scared. Two moving? What's moving? Let's have a look. Let's see if I can. I'll get another Maggie up, I suppose, but hold on. Hold on, hold on. I'm taking you to the cemetery now. Hang on. See all the white grapes? Oh, hang on. Why am I coming through that phone? So all the white graves that you can see, they're cremations. They're the ones. They're not the ones in the wall, or they're not the ones that are scattered. These are the ones that are in a box or and they're buried in the ground, and they have a proper gravestone, and you can get 8 other cremations in. That's what we've got. So it's like a plot for 8. Oh. Where the others have gone? Don't say that I've deleted them. Hang on. Oh God, what's happening? Hang on a sec, everyone. Oh, see, it's too long. Oh, look at me, Lee. You see this? Oh no, that's too big as well. All the files are too big. Can't do it. Don't know where all the pictures have gone, Lee. Maybe I haven't deleted them. Gonna have to look, aren't I? Oh God, I don't know what I'm doing from 1 minute to the next. I really don't. Well, there they are. Oh, I know why. Because I was in videos and not pictures, duh. Oh, God. Hang on. Oh, no, Lee. Oh. Can you hear me? Oh, what's it doing? Why is it still coming through? It's all lowered down. Well, aren't you the lucky one, Egg? If you can hear me 20 times. I had my phone volume right off. I had the line through the speaker. I couldn't understand why I could still hear echoing. Anyway, it's saying I can't add any more pictures, that some of them have got to be deleted. So I'll leave you to do that, because I won't know which. I'll go on a rampage and I won't know which ones to do, Lee. I'd rather you do that. Anyway, listen, I'm going to have to love you and leave you now, because if he doesn't get up the stairs to get some sleep and he won't move, well, he won't move because he's got to wait for me, then he'll be like a raging bull in the morning, and I'll, you know what I mean? Me and him will be kicking off before 6 a.m. Yeah, it sounds like a spirit box. That's why it sounds to me. Oh, do you trust them spirit boxes? I don't. I've never been into going to a live, even watching it. You're welcome, Leanie. We haven't got far to go now. Let's have a look. Oh, do you know what? We have got quite a bit. Like, not loads, but we have got quite a bit. I will, JB. I will. Thanks for you coming in again. I can count on you. I can count on you. Oh, see what I mean? Oh, no, you can count on me, isn't it? You can count on me like 1, 2, 3. I'll be there. Love you all, and thanks very much for coming in tonight. Old and new. I'll see if you're still there, love, because you're quiet. thank you for coming in too. We don't always talk about shit every night. Only when Jesse's got the diarrhea. Good night and God bless everyone. Thanks for being here. Love you all. Leah, speak to you in the morning. Good night and God bless everyone. Thank you very much. Bye, y'all. So I'm going to do an outro now because I've got to be dead professional, Leanie says.
Life is hard and life is wild. It can be sad or full of smiles. And every once in a while, you need a break from the mundane. So come back to see your friend, or she'll wonder where you've been. According to Leanie, she appreciates you and all that you do. You need her, but she needs you, and that's the beauty of according to Leanie. So thank you for your time. You are a friend of mine. I'll be happy to see you again on the next According to Leanie. Be good or be good at it. Until next time, love Leanie, love Leanie, love Leanie. Next time, love Leanie, love Leanie. Life is hard and life is wild. It can be sad or full of smiles. And every once in a while, you need a break from the mundane. So come back to see your friend, or she'll wonder where you've been. According to Leanie, she appreciates you and all that you do. You need her, she needs you, and that's the beauty of According to Leanie. Be good or be good at it. Until next time, love Leanie.